going on, my friends? I'm Rick, and this is your seat at the table, and we're going to take a little bit of a novel, overview of a novel. Now, if you've listened to some of my previous novel overviews or opinionated pieces, they tend to be up and down and all over the damn place, and I apologize for that. So we're going to try to be on point. I heard about this book through Red's channel, his website. You know, he's a YouTuber who's doing very well, and his big fame, aside from all the BattleTech material that he produces, is his almost daily or nightly podcast for BattleTech, and they're quite popular. And he was talking about the topic come up in the Dark Age and novels. And when I started playing, in 2002 or so, when Bassa bellied up and the Dark Age started to come out, and there was a bunch of switching around. FanPro and WizKids and stuff were making a hot mess out of things. A lot of confusion and thing. That goes Frankie, just slowed off with some stuff. You okay there, man? Huh? You okay there, Frankie? Yeah. You are? Yeah. You okay? Yeah. You stay out from behind the chair. I'm not having you pinch your toes again. So anyway, I've done plenty of griping on plenty of videos. I read the first 5 or 7 Dark Age novels, and I do not remember this being one. And there was some 25-ish that have been produced under the Dark Age label. And so Dark Age was Wizards or WizKids products, and not FanPro. So it's the era of the rise and decline of the Republic of the Sphere, and the storylines and stuff are kind of convoluted and all over the place, which is not uncommon for a lot of novels. But so this one was one of the 2, and there's another one that follows this. And ironically, I read that book first, and I'll need to I need to do a video on it. It's actually sitting in my work truck because I've been meaning to make notes on it, but I keep getting sidetracked because I'm currently making notes on Operation Lancaster, because there's such a large amount of good stuff there and rich material that I want to take my time to do what I can correctly as much as possible, as much as I'm capable of doing. So this is Target of Opportunity by Blaine Lee Pardoe. And we all know Blaine's saga and story, and unfortunately he's no longer working for CGL or any of the others, which politics and crap aside, is my personal opinion is that's bullshit. So WizKids. Basically, we start out with this guy named Tucker Harwell, and he's a young fellow who graduates with his high honors. He's a bit of a savant, a genius when it comes to electronics and communications equipment specifically. So he graduates from the top honors of his class there, I believe on Terra. And at this point, the Gray Monday scenario has been in play for quite a long time. The HPG network has been down. The lion's share of it's been down for quite a while, and has caused no end of problems and grief and other issues throughout inner sphere and the periphery that are affected by it, which is pretty much everybody. And just about everything anybody's ever been able to do or try to figure out to fix the problem fails. So somehow or another, he gets tapped, and he gets sent off to this planet called Wyatt to work with trying to restore the HPG there. And I imagine this is just one of many of these desperate attempts by ComStar, who's beginning to lose. It's actually well into its decline. The ComGuards itself has been destroyed in the latter part of the jihad, where they hunted down what was left of the Word of Blake to destroy them, and the process became a terrific victory for ComStar. And then with the rise of this Republic of the Sphere, basically ComStar became a corporate entity with no military really worth speaking of. So the ComGuards are defunct, supposedly. So Tucker Harwell gets sent by a Prince Centaur and some other ComStar yahoos to Wyatt to help see about getting the Wyatt to figure out that he can figure out what's going on. And lo and behold, he manages to actually fix the damn HPG and get it working. And the rest of the story is nothing to do with that. It's more about how everybody's out to get him because he knows how. Apparently, he knows how to fix this, and this knowledge gets out pretty damn fast. So I find it convenient in an era where the HP network doesn't work very well, and very few places could receive transmissions from the Wyatt HPG anyway. That so many people found out so much information so fast and was able to react so quickly. It's just kind of almost tongue in cheek. You know, you have to dismiss the realities of some things. So in addition to this, he has his sister Patricia, and his sister Patricia comes off as a pretty low-key character through most of the novel. Although as the novel progresses, Tucker begins to become aware that his sister has a bit more knowledge about things militarily speaking and combat-related speaking than he ever thought she did. I guess there's more going on under the table with his sister than he's aware of. Unfortunately, in the next book, he becomes extremely aware of that, and we will not put any kind of foreshadowing for that, because when we do that, we'll talk about that book when it comes up. Meanwhile, the Republic also sends somebody, Knight-Errant Alexi Holt, to Wyatt, and her primary mission is to help beef up the security of the Wyatt HPG and Wyatt itself, because obviously this is going to make this planet an extremely tempting target for just about everybody. Any planet with a working HPG is worth a lot to a lot of people. So the Republic understands this, and so they send her and some other assets there to help whip the Wyatt militia into shape and to beef up the security. But her second and actually primary mission is to keep an eye on Tucker Harwell, and more importantly, to protect him from everybody else, because it's a given that people are going to try to find out who fixed it and try to take him. And so he becomes the kind of what the whole novel kind of bounces around. The Wyatt militia itself is led by this local government official, excuse me if I ain't got his title name down. I didn't want to go digging through the book, and I should have. But he is a bit of a character, and a whiny sort of character in some aspects, a stand forward kind of character in other aspects. He's the local planetary ruler for the Republic. He's in charge of the local militia, and he bumps heads a few times with Alexi a little bit, but it turns out later down the road that the man's actually a deep undercover spy for one of the former Free Worlds League nation states, so the Oriente Protectorate, and he's basically sold this information about Tucker Harwell to the Orient. Somehow or another, this information gets to them in a timely manner. Which is it's never addressed or never explained. We have another character, which his name is Rio, and he comes off as a bit of a nefarious gun for hire kind of type, who's working for a third party by the name of Bannock or something like that, who's got mercenaries in his payroll. They never really established exactly who that guy is and what his real primary motivation is for any of this stuff, other than to get control of Tucker Harwell. And the dude that he puts in charge of the mercenaries is a piece of work, and I can't think of his name either. It's not really worth noting, but he's a piece of work, and he causes some problems. One of the problems follows. So our friend Rio is actually a ghost knight in disguise, and of course nobody knows about this till the very end of the novel. Clan Spirit Cats show up. A star under the command of Star Captain Cox Davalis, although at that point he was not accepting his last name, his blood name. He was denying it for some reason of his visions or something. So he was Star Captain Cox and his star show up, and immediately is challenged by Knight-Errant Holt to a duel, basically a batch-all, in order to keep them away from the capital. Mainly because she suspected they were there looking for Harwell too. She basically fights him mano a mano and gets her ass handed to her. It's a pretty tight fight, don't be wrong, but she didn't take the loss very well. But it gives the spirit cats the right to roam into the city and do whatever they're going to do. So the spirit cats move into the capital city, and the Wyatt militia moves out. So that's the idea being is to avoid a confrontation, that because the local militia is, hey, this is our world, our planet, our capital. What the hell are we doing? We should be fighting them. But clan honor is clan honor, and Alexi Holt understands this honor much better than the local idiots in charge do. So anyway, this Bannock's flunky, this militia or this mercenary captain, concocts a plot to send a vehicle loaded with explosives. He hires some local kid to drive this thing, to drive it right up to the spirit cats and be a pest. Basically, run around a bunch of circles, do some donuts, and try to be a pain. What they don't tell him is it's loaded with explosives, and they detonate it. The kid gets killed. The APC, the armored vehicle, the light armored vehicle that he's racing around, blows up and does a lot of damage, and some of it's done to the spirit cats. And the damn thing is painted with the militia's colors. So the spirit cats immediately assume that the militia has reneged on their results of the batch all, and that's a slap in their face and their honor. So they set out in pursuit of the militia, which begins this running battle. So when we got the mercenaries out there, we got the Wyatt militia who's got Tucker Harwell with them and his sister, Knight-Errant Alexi Holt, and a couple other ComStar technicians, and so on and so forth. And this has us running battle through half the book. And eventually, Star Captain Cox puts 2 and 2 together and realizes he's been duped. And the reason behind it is because the table organization and equipment that was given to him for the militia listed one of these particular combat vehicles available to them, and that was one blew up in the main square there in the capital. And when they run across another one of them, damaged, partially destroyed in the battlefield, he realizes that they only had one of these. So where did the other one come from, and was it really from the Wyatt militia? So then he realizes he's been suckered, and then he turns on the mercenaries, which is another story. Meanwhile, a fourth faction shows up for the party. So this force from the Oriente Protectorate, who was working kind of hand in hand at the beginning with these mercenaries, arrives in system and then drops on the planet and then moves into engage. They want Tucker Harwell too. And this free-for-all breaks out. The Orient Protectorate's forces don't really get to the battlefield in force before yet a 5th faction arrives. And this is where we're getting toward the end of the book. Suddenly, out of nowhere, comes what appears to be a ComGuard force, which everybody's a bit puzzled by this, because supposedly by this point in time in the Dark Age, ComGuards are no more, and that ComStar's not supposed to have a military force, let alone one with mechs, and mechs with new designs that had never been seen before in pristine condition, let alone armed drop ships carrying them. And they arrive, and then they're here to pick up Tucker Harwell and his sister and the rest of the Comtex, because they are technicians and they are members of ComStar. So they basically abscond at the end of the damn novel, leaving Knight-Errant Holt scratching her head, and the Wyatt militia's Planetary's former leader in handcuffs, because it's turned out that they find out he's a damn a spy or a deep cover agent. The Orient Protectorate force turns around and retreats. The mercenary unit is pretty much no more. The spirit cats go home, pack up their shit, fly back, and are trying to figure out exactly what it was their visions were, and whether they achieved what they were supposed to do there or not. And very end of the book, that's when Alexi's introduced to Rio, who is the Ghost Knight, who'd been embedded some 2 years before with ComStar, or not ComStar, but to the planetary issues in this mercenary group slash criminal element for this Bannon or Bannock, which once again is not very well explored. There may be some prelude to that in a book prior to this that would explain that, who that person is and what his take on things are. I don't have that knowledge. I do know that in the follow-up book for this, it goes that Alexi Holt and Rio are going to go into undercover deeply to infiltrate ComStar, and part of their mission is to try to find Tucker Harwell and get him back for the Republic, because obviously anybody who can repair HPGs in this era of the blackout is going to be worth more than their body weight in any known precious. They're invaluable, right? So that's the genesis of this novel. It's not a bad novel. Don't get me wrong. It's okay as novels go. It took me a little longer to read it than some novels do, and mostly in part because when I come to reading novels, I tend to read either when it's very slow at work and I got nothing else with me, I might bring a book that I'm really deeply interested in to read. Otherwise, this sits on my nightstand, and I'll read a couple pages, 4 or 5 pages at a time every night. So this took me better part of a month probably to get through. And you know, and other part is because parts of it's, no offense, Blaine, you've done better work. I'm gonna bless it's not your work, it's just the material you had to work from. But it was kind of, I don't know, kind of blandish as novels go, as some of the Battletech novels go. It wasn't all that awe-inspiring or exciting. A little boring in some ways, in my opinion. But look, if you haven't read Target of Opportunity, hey, by all means, look it up, get a copy, take a read. It's any Battletech material in a storm, right? I don't know if there's a podcast version of this. I kind of wish there'd have been. I'd rather have or not a podcast, but a audiobook version, because some of these I can read, but the audiobooks I can listen to while I'm working. So I mean, you get different nuances, because the reading is the theater of the mind, the imagination, and it works better than some things, and some things don't. It's a matter of perspective, I guess. Anyway, so Target of Opportunity, Mechwarror, read it or don't, take it or leave it. Dark Age, a little bit more of a puzzle that doesn't really seem to ever conclude for me. Till next time, hope you guys have yourself a great weekend. Going on, my friends, this is Rick, and hey, if you like the channel, please hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, tell your buddies, tell your friends, tell your coworkers, tell anybody else that's in the gaming industry or gaming fandom that's